Hello, everyone. This is Super EV Master. Welcome to the 2014 Goody's Headache Relief Shot 500 race review. So today, as it says in the description, I'll be reviewing Dale Earnhardt's fourth win. Should NASCAR races in the fall start at an earlier time, and who's in trouble in the eliminator round? So before I talk about what happened in the race and and who won and who's in trouble before that, I'm just going to say the finishing order. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins, Gordon second, Newman third, Stewart fourth, McDonald fifth, Kenneth sixth, Boyer seventh, Hamlin eighth, Allmendinger ninth, Reagan 10th, Kyle Busch 11th, Dillon 12th, Biffle 13th, Paul Menard 14th, Stenhouse Jr. 15th, McMurray 16th, Allgaier 17th, Colwood 18th, Castle 19th, Edwards 20th, Almirola 21st, Gillen 22nd, Marcus Ambrose 23rd, Annette 24th, Josh Wise 25th, Mike Wallace 26th, Brian Vickers 27th, Kyle Fowler 28th, Alex Bowman 29th, Larson 30th, Keselowski 31st, Johnson 32nd, Harvick 33rd, Patrick 34th, Sorensen 35th, Kurt Busch 36th, Casey Mears 37th, Truex Jr. 38th, J.J. Gilley 39th, Casey Kane 40th, Charles Caulfield 41st, Timmy Hill 42nd, Clay Rogers 43rd. So that's your finishing order right here. So now let's get into what happened during the race here. So when I look at my pre-race notes, I wrote down like the first race of the eliminator round. Jeff Gordon 48, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Kevin Harvick were the fastest in the first, second, third practices. However, it was McMurray who won the pole. And Martinsville is a track. Martinsville is a track of where you have to use your brakes carefully, but you also have to like time your braking zones because there is that curve, and then there's also those like concrete turns, and entering the concrete turns as they said on TV. There's a bump right there, so it makes entering the corners even more nerve-wracking. And then I also expect a lot of cautions, and we did. We got 15 cautions, which was more than what we had in March. I believe the race was in March. Yes, it was. And it ties for the Chase race, New Hampshire race a few weeks ago. We're here, and the amount of cautions was 15. And they talked and during practice sessions of qualifying, and then eventually in the pre-race show, they talked about how the chances of a non-chaser winning today were high, and they were definitely right. And then that was all the notes I wrote down for the pre-race. And now, so entering the race right here, we saw a lot of cautions early on. In fact, the first three cautions all happened in turns 1 and 2, and we saw a lot of cautions in our kinds of shenanigans for different reasons. We saw cautions for spinning. We saw cautions for drivers hitting the wall. We saw cautions for people retaliating. We saw feuds. We saw blown engines. We saw someone's car on fire. We saw what NASCAR likes to call the accordion effect right here, and we saw cars with smashed up engines. We saw cautions for debris. We basically, this race is kind of like, this race was kind of like, what's a good like simile or whatever. It was like this race was kind of like a five-star restaurant, and it offers one of the best like foods on one plate. You have it all in front of you, and you enjoy seeing all of it. And that's what this race was, because in this race we saw like everything that could. We saw pretty much almost like everything that could happen in a NASCAR race. Here, so Jamie McMurray led the race, and in the last several, and throughout the whole entire chase right here, I think at this point, if McMurray was in the chase, I think he would have possibly have been in this round still, but I think I think Jamie McMurray's biggest problem here is that he's good. He's good at the beginning of the race. He's good to the middle, but then McMurray struggles to close the deal. I think if McMurray is going to want to like make the chase and be a championship like threat, I think that team is going to have to learn learn on how to be consistently good throughout the whole entire race. You know, because that team led the first like 76 laps, and then after that they were just kind of like slow, and they talked about that before McMurray's car eventually just did not handle well. We're here, and then we had Jeff Gordon take the lead. Take the lead, and we saw a lot of different leaders. As I mentioned, McMurray, Gordon, Kenseth led a lap, Logano led, Hamlin led, Stewart led, Boyer led, Junior led. Laps right here, and then it looked like Jimmy Johnson could have been the driver to could have been the non-chaser to win today. But the problem is Johnson running third. Johnson running good. He had a good car. Up until lap 102, where Johnson's car had to make a pit stop under green flag because apparently that team reported for a loose wheel. Then they came down pit road. They fell 2 laps down. He got one of his laps back under green, and was really never able to get the wave around here. And then what caused him later is that on lap somewhere around lap 175, Johnson, as I mentioned, as I said earlier, he got involved in a accordion effect right here of cars simply stacking up, and Johnson just had like nowhere to go, which smashed the front end of the car, smashed it up. He went to the garage, and then his day was definitely over after that. I think for Jimmy Johnson, I think the thing that the team needs to do in the off season is study the major problems, study the major problems they had throughout the whole entire season, and try to fix those in the winter, so that way they can kill it next year. And then right around here, and then on lap 160, we saw Brian Vickers get spun by Casey Kane, which then eventually Brian Vickers would pay back Casey Kane. Casey Kane, and that caused Casey Kane to finish outside the top 40, by Brian Vickers getting into Casey Kane entering turn 1, and then what we're trying to say here, and then eventually later in the race, Casey Kane would get back to Vickers. And I was watching the NASCAR lap coverage, and what Brian Vickers said over the radio that I don't believe was said during the race was Brian Vickers said something. Brian Vickers said something like, "We can do this all day long." But I think for like any NASCAR fan that has been watching NASCAR for the last several years, knows that like Vickers has had tempers, and Vickers has retaliated. This race 3 years ago, Vickers retaliated like 5 times here, but if we look at the lap 160 incident here, it wasn't like Casey Kane like dive bombed and made a stupid move. I think Casey Kane he saw hole there and he took it. The problem here is that Casey Kane accidentally got onto the curve, and I think Brian Vickers, for it being lap 160, Brian Vickers probably could have left Casey Kane a little bit of like room right there. And then as I rewind just a little bit here, Rakazowski, he made his way into the chase based off his win at Talladega last week. But it looked like that in the first like 20-30 laps or so. It looked like he was going to be I can tell you right here. But then around that time, Keselowski's car just simply just like slid back, and slid back right here, and then it got stuck around 20th, and that eventually caused him to get involved, to get slight damage when Vickers retaliated into Kane, as I said, up in turns 1 and 2. And then Keselowski on lap 437 has a transmission problem. It started on the back straightaway, but everyone avoided him on the back straightaway. But then all of a sudden, coming out of turn number 3, coming out of turn number 4, Casey Mears just had nowhere to go. Runs into the back of Keselowski. Patrick gets damaged, and then eventually Casey Kane and Martin Truex Jr. took hard hits. Carl Edwards got involved, and so did Brian Vickers here. And some people have been saying things like the worst crash I've seen at Martinsville, or the hardest crash I've seen at Martinsville. I would probably put that crash in the top like 10, but more likely like 15. Yeah, of hardest crashes at Martinsville, because the previous day in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, John West Townley got spun right, and took a hard hit into the inside wall, and they collected Brandon Rogers, and then they went like hard into the outside wall, and that crash for me was 5 times more harder than the one we all saw today in that multi-car crash right here. That crash would eventually bring out a red flag right here, but now it's backtracked. Now let's backtrack to lap 192 right here. After caution number 5, we have pit stops right here, and Jeff Gordon and Ryan Newman running up front were too fast on pit road, and they went to the back right here. Gordon would eventually recover, and Newman seems to have a hard time getting through the lap traffic right here. But then as soon as we went back racing here under green flag, we saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. This is where I think most of us NASCAR fans saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. as a threat to win this race, and he eventually would, right here, and then right here, because then that wasn't it for the chasers, because then on lap 228 right here, as I mentioned, when you make the transition between asphalt and concrete, there's a bump right there, and the bump apparently can hit that bump right here, but at the same time, it looked like that his car wheel hopped entering turns 1 and 2, and him and Harvick got together. Stewart got a little bit damaged in the process, and I don't think Kenseth hit the wall, but Harvick did, and it looked like that on Harvick's car. The damage, to me, well, when I first saw the damage, it didn't look that severe, but apparently something on the left front was obviously broken, and his car had to go behind the wall, which then resulted in his finish outside the top 30 right here, and making him finishing the worst out of the 8 remaining chasers that are left. Sorry, Matthew. Matthew Hodgkins. I see that comment, but it is unfortunately not going to happen. And I guess if someone who was subscribed to me and had and watched the race as well, I guess if you want to be part of these like race reviews, you can make comments down below, and I'll see what I could do. But however, I will say that the chances of it happening, I think, are still pretty slim. Of you actually of having a co-commentator talking about the racer here. So then Harvick had his issues. Keselowski had his issues, and as I said before, Carl Edwards got involved in that crash right here. So those 2 drivers were in danger. But as we go back to the race right here, throughout the midsection of the race, Hamlin was leading, and it almost looked like at one point Hamlin was going to win this thing. And I think, when that was happening, I was actually kind of getting kind of nervous and kind of mad, because my thing with Hamlin is that I don't want Hamlin in the Power 4. I think out to the I think out to be like 8. He's kind of the driver that I do not want at all in that top in that final four because I think for one I think out of the top 8 drivers, Hamlin Hamlin has Hamlin has the weakest overall body of work of the season. You know, because when we think about it, Hamlin won Talladega. Well, guess what? Anyone can win Talladega, and he won that Talladega race easily because the caution came out on the final lap. If that caution did not come out, he might have gone past. So uh, uh, I don't know. So then Hamlin got into the chase, but then I also think that he got up to this point right here because the drivers that were much more better than him unfortunately got bad luck. In the last round, so kind of opened the door for Hamlin, and I think this round, and the tracks are in it, worked really well for Hamlin. He's won at Martin. He has won at Martinsville multiple times. He's won at Texas twice, and he's a Phoenix winner. So I think for the 11 team, what they thought was that if they make it to this round, they'll do pretty well. But thankfully that did not happen right here. Right here. And then as I mentioned, so the multi-car crash that happened on lap 437, it brought out the first of 2 red flags right here. But then once the red flag was over, we had after that we had like a 45 lap like green flag runner here, and then right here lap 488, caution number 15, Kyle Larson and Marcus Ambrose collide. And then that brought out the second red flag. I think they brought out that second red flag because Larson's car fine. And this okay, I'm gonna say this. And this was something that was not shown, and it was something that like no one said watching the race. Kyle Larson's car had no front damage. It was not like an oil. When Larson spun around, and got back into the gas, his car was facing the wall, and then his car accidentally drove himself into the outside wall, hitting the front end. You can probably if you have the race recorded, or when NASCAR uploads that race onto its YouTube channel in the next couple days, go find that. Like clip right here. You'll see Larson not have any damage, but then when he drives it, but then when he tries to drive back to the pits, he accidentally drives himself head on into the outside wall. So then when he hit the outside wall, that's where all the oil and fluid came out, and then that's why they brought the red flag, because there was just simply a lot of oil in turns 3 and 4. Okay. And then during the red flag, there was this debate upon multiple teams on like, and the message was, should we come down pit road? Should we not? Right here. And when I was watching that, I was kind of like, why would teams come down to pit road in a Martinsville race with less than 10 laps right here? But then eventually on lap 493, pit stops happened, and Tony Stewart was the only driver that stayed out. And so then we had like Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon, who were 1-2 prior to caution number 15. They start 5th and 7th right here. Then we have a restart on lap 495. 5 more laps to go. Let me get a drink of water. So then we have a restart here, and then we see Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon, who I believe everyone took 4 tires, I believe, and those two drivers get to everyone in front of them, and then on lap 497, Dale Jr. took the lead away from Tony Stewart. But I must say, entering that restart, I said to myself, well, it looks like a non-chaser is definitely going to win right here. So on lap 497, Dale Jr. took the lead, and then on the same lap, on the other side of the racetrack, Jeff Gordon moved into second, and it looked like, and I think simply with like 3 more laps to go, there was no way Jeff Gordon was really going to be able to really catch Dale Earnhardt Jr. right here, and then coming off the turn before on the final lap, Dale Earnhardt Jr. just wins at Martinsville. This is his first win at Martinsville. He's the first non-chaser to win a chase race in 2014, and this is his first win at a track. This is his first win at a track less than 2 miles since his win at Richmond in April of 2006. So it has been 8 years since Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won at a track less than 2 miles. And I commonly kept on saying that to myself, when he won Daytona, and then when he swept the Pocono races. So him winning at a track less than 2 miles made me double happy, and I was definitely very excited to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. win. I think it's exciting for any NASCAR fan to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. score a win right here. But however, I must say, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. got out of his car and started to jump up and down with his pit crew, I was kind of like, I kind of found that kind of disturbing for no reason, and I don't quite know why. That's just me. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. was doing the interview. All Junior Nation in the crowd at Martinsville, they were chanting, and one person in the comments on one of the 2 Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins at Martinsville videos, he said something. He or she said something like, I think the crowd was cheering, please don't leave Steve, or whatever, which that could have been true or here, but Junior Nation definitely seemed to be happy. But I think here's the thing: if Johnson would have won, or Gordon would have won, or Stewart would have won, Climpler, Hamlin, anyone else, I'm pretty sure most of the fans whether they were fans of Jeff, Jimmy, McMurray, Boyer, Hamlin, you name it. I don't think that they would have stayed in their seats throughout the entire victory lane celebration. I think most of them would have honestly had gone, but I think in Junior's case, almost any Junior fan would stay in their seats and watch the entire victory lane celebration. But that is just my opinion right here. So looking at the race right here, but I think the one thing that I noticed towards the end of the race, and especially after we had the second red flag, and I'm surprised, and I'm kind of somewhat surprised that no one in the ESPN booth said this or whatever, but when the first red flag happened at 4:37, I typed in Martinsville, Virginia sunset, and the sunset there is at 6:29 p.m. Eastern time, and when the race ended, we were almost 30 minutes away from sunset from happening, and I don't know. And I think possibly if we had longer cautions earlier on in the race, or if we had like a red flag, or if we had like a red flag earlier in the race, I think that as far as sunset goes, we would have been on the verge of the race being shortened because of sunset. The last. I believe the last Sprint Cup Series race to be shortened by sunset was the 2007 Kansas race, because at the time Kansas Speedway did not have any lights out here, and we came pretty close during the 2014 spring race at Talladega, the race that David Reagan and David Gillen finished 1-2. We came pretty close on that race too, because at that race they came close, and what they did was that instead of 3 green white checkers, they eventually went to just 1 right here. I think with that. I think at Martinsville and Martinsville does not have any lights. So the race would have definitely have been shortened if the race would have just gone like 30, 40 minutes longer. But I think for me that that makes the question like rise up. Should NASCAR races in the fall start at an earlier time? Because because when you think about it, in spring the days get longer. In the fall, the days get shorter. You, and what I always find kind of interesting is that throughout the past several years that I've been watching NASCAR, uh, this is the this is now um, this is now my like eighth. I am now starting my like 8th year of watching NASCAR. The fall races always seem to start like if a track has if a track is going to host like more than one NASCAR race, like two, the fall race is always going to start like 30 minutes or an hour later if it's a day race, um, late later later than when it does in the spring, and that always kind of confuses me because as I just said, fall break during the fall the days get shorter and in the spring the races get longer. But for whatever reason, I think when it comes to races like Martinsville, I think that like I think that for Martinsville and also like Talladega last week, since those two tracks do not have lights, I think that the races should should start earlier, just so just so that if we have a red flag or rain delay, we won't run into that issue at all. So that's what I have to say about that here. Anyway, as I type, as I go to the NASCAR point standings uh, page right here on NASCAR.com. And this is the like final thing I want to find the second to final thing I want to talk about um, is who is in trouble entering the two other races in the eliminator round because as I mentioned there were there were a few chases that had issues. Edwards, Keselowski, and Harvick are right here. And actually I had fine. My pre-chase prediction of the Final Four was Keselowski, Harvick, Logano, and Gordon. So it looks like at this point, my pre-chase prediction of having that Final Four is starting to unfortunately fade away from me here at this point. But I think for Keselowski and Harvick, they're basically going to have to do what what Johnson Jr. and Keselowski had to do in the previous round is now at this point they're going to have to win because I feel like that it's pretty unlikely that at like Martinsville and Phoenix that everyone in front of him that everyone in front of them in points is going to have like a major problem, because I don't think Texas and Phoenix are those kinds of like, tracks. But that's just my opinion, and I guess I will apologize or just simply be proven wrong next week if that does happen. I don't know. I'm trying. Well, I'm trying to get to the NASCAR stands right here, but I think but for a reason it's just not responding on my page. But I guess if it's not going to respond, that's a I guess that's just simply okay because as I mentioned because at this point Keselowski and Harvick those are the two drivers that are in definite trouble because those two drivers are more than 20 points behind. So I think Harvick and Keselowski are in definite trouble, and so is Edwards. Fifth place, I believe fifth place is like Matt Kenseth. I believe I believe it's like Matt Kenseth. It's either Hamlin or Kenseth, I believe. But whoever is in fifth place, they're like 5 points behind fourth place. So they're not really going to be in the danger. But I think for like Harvick and Keselowski, the next two tracks, they're going to be killer rock star at because when I think about it, I think at Texas Keselowski can easily win there, and I think at Phoenix Harvick has won 3 out of the last 4 Phoenix races, so I think Harvick will definitely be good at Phoenix. So I'm not as concerned for those two drivers as I was for Junior and Johnson when they were in this place after Kansas right here. But I think and speaking of Texas, that's the final subject I'm going to be talking about here. So I think Texas, it's going to be so the race at Texas. It's a afternoon race. It's a race that's going to start in the late afternoon and then end under the lights. So obviously conditions. So obviously conditions from daytime to nighttime transition is going to be obviously key. But honestly, when I look at Texas obviously does not create the most like dramatic Talladega type action right here. But those cars can get faster right here. So I think at Texas, the surface is going to be. I think the surface of Texas is going to be an issue here because the surface of Texas is rough right here. So I think finding grip at Texas is going to be, I think one of the main highlights right here. And I think as I said a few seconds ago, daytime to nighttime transition is going to be the other big key for this race at Texas. And in my prediction or my pick to win Texas, I'm just going to say I'm just going to say like Logano because Logano he won April, but I also think that for the past several races Logano has been carrying out lots of momentum, you know, and he's won races in the past 2 rounds, and I think he will definitely do it again at Texas. So I would like to thank everyone for watching this race review, and maybe if you want to be part of these race reviews, comment down below. And I'll see what I can do. Maybe I don't know, but the chances are still pretty slim, I would say, as of right now. But I just want to thank everyone for watching this. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and that's all I gotta say. I'll see you next week after Texas with that race review. See y'all later, and bye.